Hello, this is TelecomTV. I'm Martyn Warwick. I'm talking with Al Mitchell, SVP of Consumer and Business Solutions at Metaswitch, and we are in London at the Great Telco Debate 2015. Al, pleasure to meet you. Thanks for giving us some time. I'd like to ask you a couple of questions about operators and NFV and how this dynamic is working or not working. We learned today in the event itself, in the debate itself, that telcos are having quite a lot of trouble in selling to SMEs for various sort of historic reasons. It's not good. I mean, things should be better than that. How can they turn that around into some kind of an advantage and to be better able to provide the technology that people actually want to use, that SMEs will be pleased to have?
The thing that service providers have to try and do is severalfold. Firstly, they've got to be nimble and quick. They've got to offer the services available for turn-up and pricing quickly. Small businesses are very influenced by the consumer market. And if consumers take 7 weeks to get given a price for a service, they will go several places else. And small businesses are no different. So they want to know that if they go online and sign up on the service, that service ideally is turned up the same day, probably live with them pressing the apply button. That's what consumers do. Businesses would like to do the same. The second thing is, right now, the way that telcos offer business services, certainly many of the larger telcos, is that they see businesses as a great cash pot, which means that they charge a lot of money for the services and they deliver a lot of value, but that value isn't necessarily engineered towards the small business. It might be 24/7 ringing up to make sure that the data connection is kept live. And if you're a small business, you don't necessarily need that. So what they need is services that are targeted to fill the gap between today's consumer services, which are much more best effort but still live all the time, and the business services which are SLAs all over the place and guaranteed. So you need services that fill that gap, because that's exactly where small businesses are today. They're midway between consumer and enterprise, and they have needs on both sides of that fence.
Okay, thank you. So moving on from there, so where does NFV fit into all this? It's supposed to be the optimum technology to enable telcos to be much more flexible and agile in the first place. So is that what's happening? It would seem not.
It is the optimum technology because it enables that nimbleness. So NFV allows operators to build networks that can respond to online clicks and provision network connections, can provision services like unified communications, like collaboration, maybe even sort of hosted firewalls. All that can be spun up using NFV and SDN technologies. The difficulty is that operators struggle, I think, to move quickly enough to deploy those technologies. And there's long and complicated discussions as to why that might be the case. One of them is the traditional split, for example, of different services in different silos in a telco department. So the IT department that might be responsible for back-end systems isn't the same department that is responsible for voice networking. But if you're going to deliver a seamless service that is prompted by an online click, you need to have those two silos either united or at least working very, very closely together. That's just one of the many problems that sort of get in the way, I think, of telcos moving quickly.
But the problems that are soluble, you think?
Oh, I think they're soluble, yes. But that's not to say that all telcos will manage to solve them.
No, indeed. Different thing. Take your point. Let's just spend a little bit more time on NFV, because it's presented often and seen to be or regarded as a sort of blanket solution, a technology for all things to all men, sort of thing. But it's not the same, is it? There are various iterations and types and shades and nuances of NFV. What should operators, do you think, be looking for in their providers of NFV technology?
What they should be looking for is a provider of NFV technology who is thinking about NFV technology not as simply an evolution of the old. It is actually a new way of designing technology, and it's trying to solve a problem in a different way. So you're looking for various things. A vendor which has experience in the space. It's a relatively new space from the perspective of telecoms, and engineering things like real-time voice in virtual environments isn't straightforward. And engineering orchestration on top of that is hard again. So you need to look for a vendor that has years of experience in that space, rather than someone who realized last year that it was really important that they have a story and started migrating old code bases as quickly as possible. Secondly, you need to look for proven ability, so actual real deployments in the world of operators running virtual software, virtual networks, supplied by a vendor who's got that partner, who's got that capability. And then thirdly, you need to look for innovation that shows that they have thought about the differences that NFV brings to how you engineer networks. So, for example, at Metaswitch, we put together we have released an IMS core that was built entirely for cloud systems. It was architected to have distributed, stateless processing engines backed by redundant storage that is sort of cloud friendly, backed by object storage. That just doesn't exist in the hardware world of real-time voice, for example. So you need to look for that proven ability and that innovation that demonstrates an understanding of that space.
Excellent. Al Mitchell, thank you very much.
Thank you.